Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange. My name is Scott Morgan. We're at the Motor City Madmouth. Glad to have you with us tonight. First of all, what I want to do is, before I turn over to the crew, I want to dedicate this show to my late mother-in-law, Betty Ebling, who died 8 years ago on this day. I know year in and year out it's a tough day for my wife, Candy, but, you know, Mom, never forgotten you. You've been unbelievable to us. And if it weren't for you, I wouldn't have your daughters. So I ended up making out like a bandit. Meanwhile, not only did I make out like a bandit, I made a book called, Lessons from the Microphone. And it is now available on Kindle and Amazon. So go to Amazon or Kindle and you can get your copy fairly priced. And it's Lessons from the Microphone, tuning into the enduring wisdom of visionary leaders. I should also point out that the Sports Exchange is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of the Sports Exchange can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're always looking to add more subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Participate in the chat room, one way to do it, or send your topic ideas, South Florida Tribune at gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, give me a call at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website is www.southfloridatribune.com. Our Twitter/X is at Tribune South. Candy Ebling is behind the scenes. And, of course, I just mentioned my book. So with that said, let me introduce the dream team here. This is the core that we have for the Sports Exchange. Every now and then we'll add another voice here and there. But this is it. This is a core four. Jacob Christner, welcome back.
How you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. And JB Ellis.
How's it going, Gus?
All right. Glad to have you on again. And last but not least, George, General Electric Icorn.
Yep. Uncle George here. Ready for it.
All we need is David Letterman to make fun of him.
All right, well,
General Electric.
I'll see what I can do. Although you're more in the entertainment business than I am, I'm sure you can get David for a reasonable number. All right, we're going to be all over the map tonight, so we're going to probably talk about just about every major sport on the planet. We're going to lead off with baseball. Okay, the Baseball Writers Association of America Manager of the Year winners for 2023 are Skipschumaker and Brandon Hyde. I'm going to go ahead and mention the numbers. Skipschumaker, 84 and 78 for the Marlins. He took the Marlins to an NL wildcard berth. Miami, obviously, was 33 and 14 with a 702 winning percentage and 1-run games. Brandon Hyde on the other side for Baltimore, 101-61 record. AL East champs, Baltimore, first 100-win season since 1980. Which manager's accomplishment is more impressive, Jacob Christner?
Oh, Baltimore. Then I appreciate Skipschumaker big time, especially by itself, especially running a team that was kind of in a doldrums and doing all that kind of stuff. But Baltimore, a couple of years earlier, like 51 wins or something, some insanity. And it's the same with Texas going from 100 losses to a World Series. It's like we're not in this situation anymore where you get 100 losses, you get 5 years till you get to 90 losses. That's what you used to get when you were that bad for years. Everybody now, it doesn't matter what the team is, it matters the city. It can be taxes, it can be the kind of manager. Can you get the guy's friend over? All kinds of different things going, and you can get a manager now even if you have a bad record before. Like just going off to another sport. A few years ago, Tim Tebow had to save the day for Denver to go get Peyton Manning. Otherwise, he was going to the Niners, to be able to get to that thing because he wasn't going to play for a 4-win team. Now, this day and age, that kind of thing would do that, would go straight to him to be able to help because you can build things now. It's a different world. So, but I'm just saying at the same time, though, Baltimore, without question, just because they were I saw that they were starting to come, but they were dead for a long time.
Joe?
As much as I respect what Baltimore did in rebuilding that franchise, I think Brandon Hyde had much more talent than what they had in Miami. So, I'm going to have to go with Schumacher. Not that either one didn't do a great job. Two phenomenal choices. But I think, when you're working with probably one of the best farm systems in baseball and you've had some phenomenal talent come up to the major leagues. They're starting to mature and get better. I think in Miami, they haven't had that luxury of doing that, and making the playoffs was phenomenal in Miami. No one expected anything from the Marlins. So to me, I think that's the obvious choice.
George?
Yeah, that's a tough one, Scott. I mean, you told us about Schumacher many, many times. I remember on 108 Stitches, and I know you're very closely. You watched Don Mattingly up front, and then of course Schumacher had some big shoes to fill. So he did a terrific job, no question about it, with the Miami Marlins. And I know what you're saying, JB, but I still got to go with the Orioles hide. I mean, 2 years ago, you got the worst record in Major League Baseball the Orioles had just 2 short seasons ago. And then last year, he got them quite a bit better, over 500. And then this 100-win season, obviously the stain on it is the fact that they couldn't advance in the playoffs. And if our listeners don't know this, it is true that the baseball writers vote on these awards before the playoffs start. So these awards are for regular season only. So you don't want to hold anything against Hyde for falling in the playoffs, but it was a terrific job. It is a terrific job that he did. Baltimore was they were bad. Just like a lot of teams were. So I'm going to go with Hyde on this one, but boy, Schumacher's right up there too. What a great season.
Well, you know what? I'm going along with JB Ellis. Okay, I believe Miami for sure, and Schumacher, and I'll tell you why. The last time the Marlins had a winning record for 162 games, you'd have to go back to 2003, and that's the year that they went out there and won it all when Miguel Cabrera was there. So I don't know. I mean, Skip Schumacher is a really nice guy. He's well respected in the clubhouse. There's a really good coaching staff. I know he's got Jody Reed on there, who I actually had an opportunity to speak to and write about earlier in the year. So, it's pretty good. I like this topic because you got 2-2 on this. So that just goes to show you that when you compare,
it's just like Chuck Woolery, 2-2.
Well, there you go. Yeah, well, that's a good point, though, Jacob. You have 2-2. I mean, you can make cases for both, and that's why. But like Joe Ellis and I, Miami, and like Jacob and George, Baltimore. It's a beautiful thing. All right. Well, obviously this story is not going away, and we're not helping it any either. So, Jim Harbaugh was due process served. Jacob.
No. But I think it's given him I think it's going to speed up his process to go to the NFL. And and he's got himself, and he's trying to but for one thing, I had no question they were going to beat Penn State on Saturday anyway. So he wasn't allowed to go coach on that while he's trying to beat this. But biggest situation is, even if he would get elsewhere and he gets off on something that gets off from this case, I think he's going to the NFL. I think it just sped it all up. And just because it's like, and the NFL is saying they would honor any kind of suspension, but that just means he's staying. That just means he's staying in Michigan until he gets to the playoffs. So you wouldn't have a suspension to honor anyway.
Okay, fair enough. What do you think, Joe?
Listen, the Big Ten rushed to a decision based on schools complaining, athletic departments complaining. They don't have all the facts yet. And I'm confident he's not the only one doing it. Remember the movie Blue Chips with Nick Nolte, Shaq, about how how he paid players to come to school, and it was always the unwritten thing how that was done. I'm sure there's many other coaches in college football that may or may not be studying and watching practices and things like that. Who cares? You're still going to go out and execute and play the game. Be better. And until you have all the facts, how are you suspending the guy? Right. They did it on a Friday and a holiday weekend, on a holiday, so that their when Michigan went to file the appeal, it couldn't be heard to begin with. It was just a disgusting display by the Big Ten. I expect more from them because when you look at conferences, major conferences in college football, the Big Ten actually, to me, always showed that they had integrity. This, to me, just kind of took it away, because they've always had a higher standard, and I just don't see it in this case.
Okay, George.
Yeah, I think it was a rush to judgment too. It was it's a situation. We all know what's going on behind the scenes, really. I mean, the Big Ten coaches, they don't like Jim Harbaugh. They never have. The NCAA could be the same situation. Hierarchy doesn't like him. I mean, people forget that he already had 3 games early in the year. Remember, non-conference games. He was suspended by his own athletic director, Ward Manuel. And I don't have much respect for that guy anymore. I'm sorry. He needed to back Jim up as much as he could. They needed to be standing together. And, we're going to fight this together and this sort of thing. Well, the 3 games, remember, guys, that was for the COVID-19 violations where he did some things that weren't supposed to be done with recruiting and contacting student athletes, etc. That hasn't even been resolved yet. That's still in the NCAA office being worked on. Now you got this situation, and there could be more punishments coming down. Let's just call it the way it is. They don't want him in college football. It's quite obvious, the coaches, the athletic directors, the Big Ten. But he's out there to prove this year, and his team has been proving it right on the gridiron that they mean business, and that's why they're undefeated. They're going to win still, even if he's not there, I predict.
Well, I'm going to piggyback off Joe a little bit. Before I do that, though, one of our analysts last night on Inside the Pigskin called this a good first-class witch hunt, which I believe it really is. Now, I'll piggyback off of Joe. You're right. Okay, Joe, a lot of times people rush a judgment. Now, think about that suspension. Well, they couldn't have timed it well because they forced him to miss the Penn State game because you had no way to appeal before a holiday. If that isn't a first-class chess maneuver, I don't know what is, right? You tell me. So I think the Big Ten has definitely handled this very poorly. And like you said, Joe, okay, unless you have all the facts, okay, how can you be premature in your decision? Now, go into the chat room for a moment, okay? And glad to have Big Dan Davis on. Do you guys think that Harbaugh, wins the injunction? On Friday, here's my opinion on this, and then I'm going to turn it over to you guys. For some reason or another, I think Harbaugh does not coach against Maryland, that they're hoping to get him back by the Ohio State game. Dan, that's what I think will happen, that you'll get 2 games out of it. But I'll leave it at that. So I'll give Jacob first crack at Dan's question.
Well, one of the things is, this is TV. I brought this up with a TV likes to control a narrative. I was saying this about the Minnesota-Iowa game, that there's no question in my mind that they were trying to get, if it was a close game, they were going to say no, because they didn't want Iowa to get in a big B1G championship game. That's going to happen anyway, just because the rest of the West is horrible. But they would do this with Michigan. They would do this because guess what? They'll do to get them away from Maryland because they can beat Maryland without Harbaugh. They want the ratings for Michigan and Ohio State with Harbaugh back. They want that. And as the TV will control these things. But this is the thing. With these witch hunts, do you want to know what we used to have when people were going for witch hunts? Regardless of which side somebody was on, one person to say F off and a lot of people following him or her even. You know what I'm saying? If we want to go to that. Now you'll have one and then the rest are scared. The rest are scared. There's money. It's money. It's whatever the thing is. They might threaten to take the thing. They're afraid of boosters. It's like boosters run everything. They give all this stupid money to someone like Jimbo Fisher or Mel Tucker. But it's like everybody's afraid to tell them no. We don't. It's like somebody's afraid that this was a no big time. There's things we see on the news all the time. It should be a no. But people are afraid. And they got to stop being afraid. I'm going to say it. Man up.
Okay, but the point is, and I'm going to ask you again, Jacob, because I don't know if you got the full nature of my question, okay? We know it's a witch hunt. So my question is, I think you mentioned it a little bit. You anticipate Harbaugh to be coaching against Ohio State, but not against Maryland. Is that correct?
Yep. That's what I was saying. Ratings. That's what I meant by that. Ratings.
Okay, no problem. Dan, I hope that answers your question. But Joe, you get a crack at it too.
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, depending on how quick the court hears the case, I think that they're going to reinstate him. I don't think that I'm with Michigan here. I don't think it's the Big Ten's call to suspend him in this particular situation, and I'm appalled by it. Because if everything that I've heard from this story, you have Ohio State involved, and that would be like the Hatfields and the McCoys. If the Hatfield said the McCoy did something, are you going to believe it? They're just enemies. You can't go by that. You got to have proof. And if you're going to have proof, by now, someone would have seen it. It'd be something on ESPN 24 hours a day showing the proof. Where's the proof, Scott? What proof do we have that Jim Harbaugh has done this? This has been going on for like 3 weeks, 4 weeks now. What proof do we have?
Well, right. We've heard that statement. I haven't seen any proof that's valid. All you have at ESPN are a bunch of haters, and Paul Feinbaum is leading one of that group. Stephen A. Smith isn't. Well, I know that, but Stephen A. Smith isn't far behind. I could care less about either of them anyways. But the reality is I haven't seen any concrete evidence, I might add, that should keep them off the field. But the main thing is they still now beat Penn State. They still are third in the college football playoff. And CFP, they're not going out there and buying into all this malarkey. They're not. They're going to say whatever they do on the field, and they're going to treat a suspension or so like a regular injury or anything else like that. So the college football playoff people look smarter than all of them because they're trying to be as objective and neutral as they can, and that so it doesn't affect Michigan's standing in the national championship picture. All right, George, you get the last word on this.
Sorry to interrupt real quick.
Sure.
You know what Michigan should do? To fit into the college football landscape, they should leave and join the ACC or the SEC and give the big blank you to the Big Ten for this. That's what they should do. They'd make a boatload of money because they're one of the premier programs in the country. You know what? You want to disrespect us? Bye-bye. Ohio State, go try and be relevant playing Penn State or Iowa or Minnesota. You know why you're relevant? Because you play Michigan every year. So maybe be thankful and stop crying like a 2-year-old because you're irrelevant without Michigan. So you know what, Michigan, go somewhere else because you're the key to the conference. UCLA, USC, they're has-beens. They're hangers-on. Michigan is this conference. Without Michigan, they're nobody in this conference.
Well, I'll even help you on this too, by the way. Michigan win on Saturday. It's their 1,000th victory as a program. So there you go, Joe. That should help you bolster your comments there. All right, George, now you do have the last word. Well, thanks for bringing that up, JB. Those are outstanding comments.
I don't know what the judge is going to rule. I got no idea. I'm not an expert on legal law, and the hearing is going to be Friday morning, and the team's got to get on a plane again to go to Maryland. And that I'm not happy about that either. Like this judge couldn't have made it Thursday or something, to make a decision or to at least hear the case, the arguments. It's not going to be a final decision. So the question is, will he or will he not issue a restraining order, a temporary restraining order? I say he will not. And I know he's from Washtenaw County, backyard of Ann Arbor, but I'm going to say this guy's not going to do it. So Jim will not be able to coach on Saturday. I don't know what it portrays into the following week against Ohio State.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, you know what, Jacob, you were kind of dancing around the next topic, and now you don't have to dance anymore. Jimbo Fisher's buyout of Texas A&M is worth $76.8 million. And what that actually constitutes, by the way, is $26,301 per day. We're talking Bobby Bonilla money. Boy, how about bringing Bobby Bonilla up tonight, right? And the payments within 60 days will be $19.4 million. Then within 120 days is $7.27 million. And then from 2025 to 2031 is $7.27 million, and he gets paid, and he could still get another job. So if we're going to go out there and pounce on this college football, what is Jim Harbaugh without Jimbo Fisher? All right, Jacob, you are dancing now. You can start talking.
Absolutely, Andy. He's just getting all that money to try to catch up to JB's money. But no,
I wish.
else, right?
Yeah, right. No. These salaries. This is another thing. Boosters are absolutely ridiculous. They're always desperate, constantly desperate, wanting to quote unquote win now. And then you get these ridiculous salaries, and then they have the ADHD of a fish. A bait says squirrel. You know, they have all that, and then they have to get rid of them. They weren't good to begin with. Mel Tucker had won his best year of his dang life. He was never going to have another one, even with this whole situation. He's not that good of a coach, but they jump to conclusions so much. That's what they do, and it's like, and this is, they deserve this they deserve that having to pay this out to Jimbo Fisher. They deserve this for having to do it with. I mean, the whole situation, even paying Mel Tucker, and they're going to have to go to court.
Mel Tucker. I don't want to hear Mel Tucker. We're not talking about Mel Tucker.
I understand, but I'm just using it. I apologize. I'm just using an example of these stupid contracts.
Okay,
and we're going to get worse.
Get off Mel Tucker. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Otherwise, I'll have to be Tony Reale, and you don't want me to do that.
Yeah, we're gonna get. It's going to get a lot, but it's going to get a lot worse, unfortunately, because somebody else.
Well, you know why it'll get a lot worse? Because Texas A&M is going to have to pay $150 million when you include his assistant coaches. So,
and remember,
don't turn me into a Tony Reale. I hate that show.
Yeah, and we got to remember Kevin Sumlin too.
Well, now you can bring him up because you know what? He wasn't a bad coach over there, and they jumped the gun on him.
Exactly.
Kevin Sumlin was as good as Jimbo Fisher. So now I don't have to be Tony Reale. You brought some up that made sense. Okay, we can talk about Kevin Sumlin.
But it's like it's like they're never now they're talking. Now I have heard that they are talking about and this is Stephen A. trying to make stories, of course, trying to get Dion there.
Yeah, good luck.
And it's like, good luck. And it's like Texas A&M. They are so desperate to be Texas, to be the Longhorns, to get that kind of footprint. It's never going to happen. And it's like, and the boosters get worse and more desperate each time.
Sure, but when you haven't won a national championship since 1939, even before my dad was born, how desperate can you get than that? You tell me. Seriously. Yeah. I mean, and guess what? If it isn't worth anything, hello, Texas, we're joining you in the SEC so we can – and then Oklahoma's right there. So, you get to see the old Longhorns and you get the Aggies, and the Aggies are desperado. And don't expect me to sing because I guarantee there's no Memorex glass here. Just a fair amount of caffeine before me.
Did you say Memorex?
Yeah, where you sing into the thing, you sing into it, and all of a sudden you break a glass. Don't you remember that?
Oh, absolutely. But but those are the things. It's like they want that. It's like the Kevin Sumlin thing to me, it is the Lovie Smith of college football with what the Bears did to him. It's like being at 10-6. It's like, when you're good, you should be able to keep your job. But
now you're starting to get on a roll. Okay. Now I have to acknowledge the good and the bad. Some crazy reason you are starting to get on a roll. But don't roll too much because we only have 56 minutes.
I know. Go ahead.
So, all right. Go ahead, Joe.
Listen, the contracts of college coaches are absurd. The fact that we're telling kids – you're getting an education. You don't need to be paid, but the university is going to make all this money. Now we added NILs, which is like the Wild West of payments, rather than just paying them a salary. Makes no sense. But we'll give the college coach $76 million, and he's not even a winning coach. His greatest accomplishment was he worked for Bobby Bowden.
All right.
Wow. He wasn't Bobby Bowden. He worked for him. Now, if you want to give Bobby Bowden $76 million, I'm all for it. The man was a great coach. Jimbo Fisher, maybe get Fisher nuts. Maybe they're better because he wasn't the answer. Bye-bye, Texas A&M. You're irrelevant.
I'll tell you, you sideline guys are out.
Fisher kicked him in the nuts.
Oh, leave it alone. I'm not supposed to have those before I have my colonoscopy. Don't bring up nuts, okay? But no, yeah, that's from what people tell me, anyways. But yeah, no, I sideline guys are on a roll with these topics tonight, man. I'll tell you, I'm proud of you guys. Okay, all right, Acorn.
Well, we got a situation where year after year they've underperformed Texas A&M, and they haven't won a conference title since 1998. I mean, this program is in deep doo-doo right now. They thought Fisher was going to rescue them, but I'm telling you what, they made a huge mistake. And what's happening is what you guys said earlier. You got these alumni, these rich alumni, rich parents, whatever their connection is, dictating now who you're going to hire as head coaches. That's crazy. That is absurd. Should have never let that happen in these college campuses. And I know football is the big money maker. Everybody knows that. But as far as dictating who's going to coach the kids, I don't like it one bit. And, money talks, but a lot of money's been squandered over when you got to fire these guys because of ineptitude or whatever reason they can't get you a winning program. And here we go again. It's happened before, but I mean, it's a lot of money. It's not all being paid by the university, though, because some of that stuff was a lot of donor money for the big shots that forked all this money out. So,
hey, George, I'll give you 4 words, okay? Boosters, rich oil men. Of course, in Detroit, we don't have oil men up there. We definitely don't have that. Okay. So rich oil men down in Texas A&M for Desperado 1939
Yep.
and boosters.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what you have over there. Now I have a stat of the week. Nobody has to comment on it because this is a personal one for me. Okay, ready? The stat of the week, Jared Goff versus the LA Chargers. 23 for 33 for 333 yards, 2 touchdowns, 122.4 rating. Why is this the stat of the week? Because number one, I'm a 3 guy. You have the 23 is one thing. Okay, then you have my lucky number 33. And if that isn't good enough, you got 333 yards. That's why it made the Sports Exchange tonight. Not worry about the 2 touchdowns, 122.4 rating, because that helped the Lions win. But remember, 23 for 33, 333 yards. See, I'm getting tongue-tied on the threes. All right. Nobody has to comment. Just want to get it off my chest. So a great stat. It is what it is. But I know one thing that Coach Don Shula always taught me is you have to feed off the strength of your people. And when it comes to this topic, this had Jacob Christner's name written all over it. His favorite quarterback is coming back. Justin Fields is set to return versus the Lions after a 4-game absence. And now look at the body language of this guy. He's starting to cry like the Michigan coach. Or is he laughing? I don't know what it is. And remember here at the Sports Exchange, our objective is to entertain. Our goal is to inform, educate, and entertain. And I think Jacob Christner's got the entertaining part right. How do you feel that Justin Fields is going to Ford Field? I've never seen this guy laugh like this. In fact, he's turning red.
God.
This guy almost looks like the Big Apple out of New York. New Yorkers saved this guy from himself.
He is going to get murdered.
Hey, Joe, have you ever seen this guy laugh like this before?
No, I feel like I'm watching the Joker in like a Batman movie.
Oh, you probably are. And you got a front row seat. You got this guy here who's constantly ranting and raving about Justin Fields. And
I rant and rave about his fans, who I hate. But no, he's got 7 weeks left. His 7 weeks are Detroit, Minnesota, Cleveland, Atlanta, and one more. And those, 5 of those are just ridiculous defenses. And
I've never seen him laugh this hard, man. Remember though, this week here in the NFL, we have the Bears and the Lions, and the return of Justin Fields.
Enjoy your 41-13 win. But the Field Swifties will have fun with his 2 big plays while they're down 38-3. But the big thing is, he gets hurt every single year. So forget the fans. Let's say this part. He's dynamic, but he's still so raw for a 3rd-year guy. Still, it's like what we saw in these 4 games with Tyson Bagent. As good as Fields as far as talent, no. But you want to know what we saw? 3% sack rate. You want to know what we see with Justin this year? 14%. I mean, Tyson didn't get sacked. He got the ball off quickly. He threw some big boy ones, whether he got sacked or whether he got intercepted or not. And that's the thing with Justin. The biggest issue, he just doesn't let go of the ball. He will in the first quarter, just because he's going to be excitable. Then something is going to happen where he's not going to see something. He's going to get skittish like he always does. And then it's just going to get worse.
So since you went through all that laughing and you nearly turned into a red apple with my bad eyes, give me a score again about what
I said 41-13 Detroit.
Okay, well, there you go, Detroit fans. You got Jacob Christner telling it like it is. Far from Howard Cosell, but definitely our version of Mr. Opinion, and definitely a person who has a lot of passion and compassion for Justin Fields. It's just, it looks like Fields is going to get raked by the Lions. All right, Joe, go ahead.
So, I mean, unfortunately, he's better than Tyson Bagent, so you got to play him. Secondly, it's the coaching. If you look at last year Justin Fields compared to this year Justin Fields, they're obviously instructing him not to run out of the pocket. And when you have someone that is a mobile quarterback, you have to teach him how to go through his reads, and if they're not there and you want to run, then you run, not to stay there and take sacks. He has the skill set to get out of the pocket and to go. You have to coach him and build your offense around that. This coaching staff has yet to do that. The offensive line is not very good, so you have to roll them out more. Yep. You know, Tyson Bagent may have been sacked less, but he doesn't have the talent. He's a great story coming out of West Virginia, out of Shepherd College. That's a great story. Is he ready to be an NFL quarterback yet? No. So, yeah, if you have Fields, you got to play him. You know, you're going to get the number 1 pick and probably the number 2 pick the rate you're going. Right. So enjoy that. If you want to go with another quarterback, you can. But I don't think that's the problem. The problem is the coaching. You have to coach to your strengths. Build the offense around the quarterback you drafted and make it work. You brought in talent for him, but you're telling him not to run into the pocket. It's just bad coaching, and it's hard to watch.
One thing I want to say to you, Joe, and this is the big thing. This is the big thing. You brought this part up. Is he good enough for the NFL thing? We're going to say no, because it's completely obvious. But here's the deal. He threw some big that throw he did at the end of the Carolina game to seal it. Justin doesn't throw that ball. Justin doesn't make those throws unless they're wide open. That was a gutsy throw. Bagent is not ready for the NFL, no, but he makes up for it in having guts. A lot of gumption. He made some of the throws and stuff, and yeah, he got picked. He got picked quite a bit, 3 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. But the thing is, what's going to make Justin, if he's going to make it these last 7 weeks, he's got to show that kind of gumption. He cannot be worried about throwing. Regardless of what's going to happen, he's got to do it. He can't get skittish like that.
All right, Joe, give me a prediction for that football game, the Lions and the Bears.
Don't watch it. Go to Applebee's, hang out with some friends.
It'll be at Applebee's. It'll be on at Applebee's.
All right, but your requirement is to give me a score. I don't care if you watch it.
I don't know. Let's say 49-17.
Okay, you did your job. Now I don't care what you do on Sunday, except when we come to town. That is another story. All right, George, go ahead.
49-17.
I said 41-13.
Well, you know, the Lions over the last few years have had trouble with mobile quarterbacks, okay? So I'm going to give a little bit of shout out to him, because if they'll let him do a little bit more running this coming Sunday, they could have a closer game than most people are predicting. The fact of the matter is the man does look tentative out there. Like you said, he's skittish. He looks like he's afraid. He's hesitant. And it does fall back on coaching. The quarterback's coach, the offensive coordinator, the head coach, they're all directing what they want him to do. You know that. But I'm just saying, if the mobility becomes an issue and they do let him run a little bit more, the Lions have shown, at least the last couple of years, they're not good at that. So that being said, Scott, I'm going to say Lions 33, the Bears 12.
God,
33 to 12.
Yeah,
12. That's nice.
I was going to go 33-13 and
We're
keep
gonna
my
get a safety
team alive. 33-13. But you know what? In the end, what's going to happen is Matt Eberflus is going to be a Monday casualty at the end of the year. And
I'm calling him Eber COVID.
Well,
he's more toxic than flus.
Yeah, he'll be a Monday firing casualty, and I thought 33-13 because I'm on the 3 thing.
Isn't that funny?
With all due respect, yeah, well, whatever. Whatever. But the main thing is this, for Fields to be effective, he does have to use his legs, and he hasn't done it. And he had much talent. You can do what you want on the defensive end of the ball, but you still have to outscore your opponents, and the Bears have yet to do that very well. All right, I want to go over a couple of stats here that are interesting that came across my desk. First of all, what about the downfall of the Edmonton Oilers? Former Detroit Red Wings general manager Ken Holland sees his team at 4-9-1 for 9 points. I think they're at the bottom of the Western Conference. So go figure, Kenny. You got a lot of work to do, and they even handed you Connor McDavid, and you still haven't been able to take the Edmonton Oilers deep. Well, one of our main stories today was Draymond Green getting suspended 5 games. As he had a chokehold around Rudygobert. George and I know that joedumars, who's the executive vice president of the NBA, slapped him with a 5-game suspension. So, Jacob, 5-game suspension. Do you think that was fair? Was it fair, not enough, or too much?
Think about it. You got to wonder who he knows over there. Because, John Morant, he basically held and I'm not for with John Morant. I was just saying this. He held a gun up right into the front of the and got however many games off, in front of the Instagram. And he got however many games off. This is a legit chokehold that he wasn't letting go of, that Draymond wasn't letting go of. And this is not the first time. He stomps on chests, hitting people in the nuts. He knocks somebody out, knocks Jordan Poole out, which personally Jordan Poole deserved it. But that's neither here nor there. Thing is, he's got to know somebody there, and he's got to have some dirt on him, just like the politicians by itself. He's got to know something to get these to be able to keep getting off like this. He has to, especially the way he talks on his podcast. He has to be knowing things to be able to get off. He has to be knowing the right people. So, no, it's not right. This should be probably 10, 15 games, but it is what it is.
Okay, Joe, how many games?
Listen, if you're going to put someone in a chokehold and not let go, it's a game of basketball. You should be thrown out of the league. I don't know. You guys, Scott, George, you're from Detroit. Malice in the Palace. You remember that?
Yeah.
There's no reason to fight. It's basketball. I get you get heated. You push. You bag. Maybe every 10 years someone throws a punch, I can understand. But a chokehold? Seriously? Come on. There's no reason for that. This isn't his first time that he's done something like this. That's just a punk move. He should know better. He's not a 20-year-old kid that you can say he's not mature. He's an old man. Get him the heck out of there. Enough of that.
So
he's old and not mature.
So how many games, Joe, should he be suspended?
I say throw him out of the league, but legitimately 20. Okay.
All right, George, what do you think?
Well, like you alluded to, he has been causing trouble and in quite a number of ways over the past several years. And I really feel bad because Tom Izzo, what a great coach Tom is. And Tom just loved him as a player when he was at Michigan State. But that being said, that was a long time ago. Has no bearing on what he did. That was disgraceful. That chokehold. I would have given him a minimum of 10 games on this one, Scott.
Yeah, and I'd go 15. I really would. I think 15. And the reason why I say 15 is because not that he'd win any awards anyways, but isn't that the number for load management? You have to play at least 65 games for the awards. 15. Not that he'd win any. The only thing he could win would be a rebounding award. Of course, technicals, don't worry. He wins that one hand down anyhow. So, but 15 at least, 20, I wouldn't have a problem, but 15 easily. So I think he got off easy. All right, what I want to do now, and I think it worked out last time, is we're going to go over some top headlines that occurred over the week. And one of them actually is in Anaheim. So I'm going to go around the horn with this. Okay, but I'm not Tony Reale and never want to be. Okay. So Ron Washington is the new manager of the LA Angels. Jacob, you like the idea? He was in your neck of the woods.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's like he was great in Texas. Tremendous teacher of the game. And you would see him in every pregame, and I was in there quite a few of those games. You'd see him in the pregame, and he's out there. I mean, he just basically hitting little balls to everybody. He's given teacher. He's a teacher. And the biggest thing that the Angels need before they can get themselves coming back, you got to remember, they don't have a good ownership anyway. Their ownership's terrible. So when you have a terrible ownership that's not going to help you, the first step is going back to the basics. Like, hypothetically, it's never going to happen, but hypothetically, a Dusty Baker would have been another great one for that. But Ron Washington he's your next step. When your ownership's terrible, when you don't ever have yourself a chance and you're going to lose your big marketable star, you go back to the basics. Ron Washington's perfect for it.
JB?
Listen, he's one of the better managers around right now. Everybody loves him, knows the game, great teacher. Teams are lucky to get guys like that. He's a winner. You want to have a guy like that in your clubhouse. So good move. Glad to see he landed somewhere, and I wish him the best of luck.
71-year-old, and he looks like he's in fantastic shape for sure. So, yeah, I'll tell you, I looked at recent pictures of Ronnie Washington could steal bases on his own the way this guy looks, let alone all the youngsters that he's going to have doing it for him. Okay, George?
Yeah, this has been a tried method for a lot of teams in the past to bring somebody older on board, mature manager. You had a hell of a ball club down there in Arlington. They had a lot of battles with the Tigers. I know when the Tigers were also good during that time frame. But, yeah, everything I know and hear about Ron Washington, he is just a great guy and a wonderful man. I don't know why he hasn't managed the last couple of years, though. He's been coaching but not managing, but that's okay. I mean, you're not taking the great gamble on him like the White Sox did on La Russa, man. That one really bit them in the face. But, no, I think the Angels need somebody like this. You need a guy that's fundamental, but he's also a good guy to work with and work for on the playing field. I've always admired Ron Washington. I think he'll do a nice job there.
Yeah, he actually took Texas to 2 World Series, but they came up short. And I think the reason why he left Texas, he had some personal issues. But I'm glad that he's back in the game. And as we've seen recently with the recent trend of managers being experienced, we talked about Bruce Bochy, 68. Of course, we know Dusty Baker was in his 70s. They won a title. Ron Washington will be the latest. More baseball news because the awards are starting to come out. Blake Snell earns his National League Cy Young, becomes the 7th pitcher to win it in both leagues. And guess what? The guy's going to become a free agent. He can go anywhere he wants. Jacob, some thoughts about Blake Snell.
You know how hard it is to do that in both leagues? Completely different. Yeah, it's not as much now because there is the universal DH. So it's not as bad now, but you still got different type of hitters, different type of. But for one thing, a lot of the ballparks are different type of strategies, different everything. So when you do that there, it's amazing. As far as where he would go, if you got a double Cy Young, say hello to the Cubs. Say maybe we'll have him as a guest for Confidential.
Okay, fair. All right, Joe, where's Blake Snell going? You're muted. If you want to be Charlie Chapman, be muted. If you don't want to be Charlie Chapman, remain unmuted. And I'm not using him as a hashtag.
Muted sometimes good. Especially when I'm going to mention, the Mets have a ton of money and they like to spend it everybody. So they're going to obviously be one of the front runners. Across the river, the Yankees, if they're going to spend money this year, they always need pitching. The Dodgers are always in contention. But I don't know. I honestly don't know where he's going to end up. But I would look to those 3 based on the quality of his arm.
Okay, George?
Well, I don't know either. First of all, congratulations, Blake. That is a tremendous achievement. You being Cy Young Award winner in both leagues. Good guy. He's obviously not going to stay in San Diego, I don't believe. And I would have to think that if it's not the Mets, I'm thinking maybe even the Dodgers, possibly. I don't know. I think he'll probably want to stay in the National League. But it's just he's a good guy, good pitcher. He's got some great credentials. I know he's up there in walks. He walks a lot of guys, but other than that, he has had a tremendous season. And I think it'd be one of the big money market teams again that he's going to be looking for.
Well, I could actually see him going to the Dodgers or the Braves. That's what I could see him going. Dodgers are willing. From what I hear, Andrew Friedman's willing to break the bank this year. The Dodgers are sick and tired of being bridesmaids every year when they win 100 games and they get laughed at anyway. So if you have Rick Curdy on here, he'll tell you he's the biggest Dodger hater on the planet. Mark Mancini's worse. He loves the Padres, but then again, Mark is all over the planet, so it doesn't make any difference anyways because he has his general bias and he's the biggest Dodger hater I've ever seen. So I would venture Atlanta and the Dodgers. All right, since we're talking about the Yankees, Joe, Cole. We have Garrett Cole is the Cy Young Award winner. It's his first one. Jacob, some thoughts about Cole?
Oh, JB's going to change his mind about Garrett. I can already tell. He's going to.
Not.
See, I see his point, though. I see JB's point. It's like regular season, he's a monster. This is obviously a monster deal again. You know what I'm saying? Where he's going here. Got to show it in the playoffs. You do. You got to go get to the World Series, lead it to beat. And you got to say it a lot of times about Clayton Kershaw also. You have to say, because this is the thing. We brought up a joke with Confidential earlier, JV. But this is the big deal. My favorite pitcher, Kyle Hendricks, pitched a hell of a Game 7 before he went to the bullpen. He came through in a snap. Hey, Ralph. He came through in a snap. We haven't seen a Garrett Cole or the Clayton Kershaws or these guys do that in a 7 or do all that. That's what's going to change somebody like JB's mind.
Never.
All right. Go ahead, Joe.
He won an individual award because that's what he's all about. Back when he was with Houston, a team which I despise, after they lost a clinching game, he went into the clubhouse, took off his team's hat, and put on a hat with no affiliation. While he was still clearing out his locker and going home after the loss. Now, I get you're upset after you lose. Nobody's ever happy to lose in the playoffs. It's got to suck. You're still a part of that team. You haven't even left the stadium yet. Have a little loyalty to your team. Guess what? You won an individual award. You're a piece of garbage. Keep your $40 million. The Yankees will never win with you. Congratulations. You fooled the voters. But you're still a nobody.
Tell me how you really feel. You did. All right, George, top that one.
I don't know how I can follow that up. 33 years old. He won his first Cy Young, but the Yankees didn't win anything. They didn't go anywhere. So that really does not bode well for him. And, I'm not going to argue with that, Joe. It is an individual award, and he's all giddy about winning that. And I'm sure he's going to get a nice fat check, too, in his contract for winning the Cy Young. But it's done nothing, unfortunately, to bringing the Yankees back up to the World Series level that they were so used to for so many years. He's a good pitcher, but, yeah, he's not much of a team player. I agree.
Well, the only thing I'll say about Cole, he's got the individual hardware. It's time to get the team hardware. That's all I can say. All right. There's a report actually from MLB's John Morosi that the LA Dodgers are among teams showing the most interest in free agent right-hander Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Well, obviously you can tell it's a Japanese name. So I told you the 25-year-old is a 3-time reigning Sawamura Award winner. How am I doing with my pronunciation? I better be doing well or I'll be blasting myself in my next book for bad pronunciation. But which as Japan's top pitcher, Yamamoto was excellent in 2023, racking up 17 wins and a minuscule 1.16 earned run average, 176 strikeouts over 171 innings. Those numbers are unreal. All right, how real are they, Jacob? I can tell that after you had your little Justin Fields red apple moment. So give me your.
I'm not laughing at this one. 1.1 what?
1.16.
Good God. I mean, any league, that's ridiculous. But you gotta know what that means, don't you? It means he's a placement pitcher. He might throw, as I said, he might have power pitches, but he can place. Because 1.16 doesn't, here's the thing, you're not striking every single person out. You can also get them out every single way. That is literally another level of Greg Maddux when you're hitting that level. And I will tell you this right now, I would love for him to follow Ohtani to wherever he wants to go, and those two can be a teammate. Because if it's the Cubs, oh dear God.
Okay, Joe.
That's unbelievable stats. Wherever he ends up, someone will pay the money. They always do. There's no lack of money in baseball, although they go through periods where they try not to spend money. Someone will always spend the money if you put up numbers. So hopefully he goes somewhere where he wants to go and he does what he did previously, because that'll be something to see.
Sure. All right, George.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fantastic record, no question about it. Those numbers are astronomical. I wish some of these teams local in here, Tigers aren't going to spend the money. I don't think the White Sox, Minnesota, that division. These teams that have the money, the big, strong owners that want to spend like crazy, San Diego and Los Angeles and New York, both New York teams, Boston, of course, over the years, Philadelphia. I'm afraid that a lot of these talented young guys like that are going to head to one of those teams. I'm sorry, I can't narrow it down for you any further than that, but it's going to take the deep pockets of some very, very rich owners.
Well,
George. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Jacob.
Yeah, George, let me say this. You talk about Detroit. This never going to happen. I'm just saying this as someone who's doing the hypothetical GM thing for a second. If you get a team like Detroit who's kind of in a stuck, I'm going to say Colorado also kind of in a stuck, I'm probably going to try to go after a Japanese pitcher like that because they come from a culture of patience. Japanese people are a culture of patience to be able to get, and they're going to want their money. You got to pay them. But they are a lot more likely that you pay them and more likely to wait and build around than a lot of American players are. So if I was a hypothetical GM and I was trying to build something, I'd try to find a Japanese pitcher like that and, try to make them happy and stuff like that. And you got to build stuff like that. But I think they would have more patience than a lot of Americans.
All right. The only thing I'll add to this is I don't think he's going to Boston. So if I had to venture a place where I think he could go, I don't think there's any doubt that he could go. I think he end up going to the Cubs. They'll spend the money now that you got Craig Counsell. I also believe that you have the Dodgers and the Astros, and we'll leave it at that. We'll see how it plays out, but not Boston. I'm sure that makes you feel pretty good, and I'm not going to win any Boston fans here. One other thing I just want to mention before we close out the show, MLB owners are set to vote Thursday on the A's proposed relocation to Las Vegas. Proposed? No, it's a done deal. Oakland, say goodbye to the A's, and the Raiders and the A's are neighbors again in Sin City. All right. With that said, okay, Jacob, why don't you let everybody know how they can get a hold of you?
All of the shows, 6 different shows between Sideline Sports and Tribune South. Also, once in a while writing when I get myself some time. I'm also on Jake the Pundit on Twitter, Jake the Pundit 1 on TikTok, a bunch of other places.
Okay, George.
You can get a hold of me at gicorn@yahoo.com. You can follow my writings under the South Florida Tribune. I write under the Motor City Tribune. And at the end of my columns, we always have a link to my book, which is Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air. And I'd be remiss not to congratulate my colleague, Scott. Very delighted and happy, Scott. Your book has been published, and obviously you're going to sell a lot of copies because I know it's great stuff. Can't wait to read it. And congratulations on that. You can find me on 108 Stitches. You can also find me on the Sports Exchange, Pundit's Pundit, Fire Up series, and the Pigskin Show. I'm happy to help out and happy to be part of all these shows. Thank you.
Well, we're glad to have you part. All right, Joe.
JB _ the program on X. Sideline Sports every Tuesday night, 8:30. Also WDJY 99.1 in Atlanta, Wednesday mornings, and the Sunday afternoon pregame show for the NFL. Here every week, of course, a few other shows earlier on Wednesdays, but just follow the South Florida Tribune and Sideline Sports, and you'll see us everywhere we're going to be.
Very good, Joe. All right, just let everybody know one more time that the Sports Exchange is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of the Sports Exchange can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're always looking to add more subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Participate in the chat room or send your topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, give me a call at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Website, www.southfloridatribune.com. Twitter /X @Tribune South. And here's my book, folks, Lessons from the Microphone. Am I getting it up there? There it is, okay. Tuning into the enduring wisdom of visionary leaders. It is available on Amazon and Kindle. So on behalf of Jacob Christer, Joe Ellis, JB Ellis, and George Eichhorn, my name is Scott Morganroth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of the Sports Exchange, and we will catch you the next week. Have a great week, everybody.